The National Electrical Code does not explicitly prohibit sinks in motor control center rooms. However, it does require that all electrical equipment be protected from water and moisture. To ensure adequate protection from water, the National Electrical Code requires a minimum clearance of 3 feet between any electrical equipment and any plumbing fixture, including sinks. This clearance distance is intended to prevent water from splashing or dripping onto the electrical equipment. In addition to the National Electrical Code requirements, it is important to consider the following factors when determining the location of the sink and electrical devices in the motor control center room. Firstly, ventilation. The motor control center room should have adequate ventilation to prevent the buildup of moisture. Secondly, drainage. The sink should be connected to a drain system that can handle the volume of water it will generate. Thirdly, access. The sink should be easily accessible for maintenance and cleaning. Based on the National Electrical Code requirements and industry best practices, it is generally not advisable to locate a plastic wash sink inside a motor control center room. If installing a sink in the motor control center room is necessary, it should be located at least 3 feet away from any electrical equipment. Additionally, proper ventilation and drainage should be provided to ensure the safety and reliability of the electrical devices. When dealing with electrical installations in areas prone to moisture, several crucial aspects must be considered to ensure safety and compliance with the National Electrical Code. These considerations go beyond just the immediate proximity of sinks and electrical equipment and delve into broader environmental controls and equipment specifications. Firstly, understanding the National Electrical Code requirements for wet and damp locations is paramount. Article 100 defines these locations, which significantly impacts the type of equipment and installation methods permissible. Wet locations are areas subject to saturation with water or other liquids, such as vehicle washing areas or unprotected locations exposed to weather. Damp locations are partially protected locations under canopies, marquees, roofed open porches, and like locations, and interior locations subject to moderate degrees of moisture, such as some basements and cold storage warehouses. Secondly, selecting appropriate enclosures for electrical equipment is critical. Enclosures are rated based on their ability to protect against environmental factors, including water. NEMA ratings, such as NEMA 3R for rainproof and sleet resistant or NEMA 4X for watertight and corrosion resistant, are commonly used to specify the level of protection. The selection should match the environmental conditions of the motor control center room, especially considering the presence of a sink. Thirdly, proper grounding and bonding are essential for safety. Grounding ensures that non-current carrying metal parts are at ground potential, reducing the risk of electric shock. Bonding creates a low impedance path for fault current, allowing overcurrent protective devices to operate quickly and clear the fault. In wet and damp locations, grounding and bonding practices must be particularly robust to account for the increased conductivity of water. Fourthly, the use of ground fault circuit interrupters, or GFCIs, is highly recommended for circuits serving areas near sinks or other potential sources of water. Ground fault circuit interrupters are designed to detect small imbalances in current, indicating a ground fault, and quickly interrupt the circuit, preventing electric shock. The National Electrical Code mandates ground fault circuit interrupters protection in many locations where electrical equipment may come into contact with water. Fifthly, consider the placement of electrical panels and disconnects. These should be located away from potential water sources and at a height that minimizes the risk of water intrusion. The National Electrical Code specifies minimum working clearances around electrical equipment to allow for safe access and maintenance. These clearances should be maintained even when considering the location of plumbing fixtures. Sixthly, ventilation is a key factor in controlling moisture levels in the motor control center room. Adequate ventilation helps to prevent condensation and the build-up of humidity, which can lead to corrosion and electrical failures. The ventilation system should be designed to remove moisture-laden air and introduce fresh, dry air. Seventhly, drainage is another important consideration. The floor of the motor control center room should be sloped or drained to prevent water from pooling around the electrical equipment. The drain should be properly sized and maintained to handle the expected volume of water. Eighthly, regular inspections and maintenance are essential for ensuring the ongoing safety and reliability of electrical installations in wet and damp locations. Inspections should include checking for signs of corrosion, water intrusion, and damage to equipment. Maintenance should include cleaning, tightening connections, and replacing worn or damaged components. Ninthly, when using conduit, ensure that it is properly sealed to prevent water from entering the system. Use watertight fittings and sealants to maintain the integrity of the conduit run. Condensation can accumulate inside conduit, so consider using condensation drains in non-vertical runs. Tenthly, consider the materials used for electrical equipment and wiring. Corrosion-resistant materials, such as stainless steel and copper, are preferable in wet and damp locations. Wiring should be rated for wet locations, such as type THW or type XHHW. 11thly, ensure that all electrical work is performed by qualified and licensed electricians. Electrical work should comply with all applicable codes and standards, including the National Electrical Code and local building codes. 12thly, proper signage should be used to warn of potential electrical hazards. Signs should be placed near sinks and other potential water sources to remind people to exercise caution when working with electrical equipment. 13thly, train personnel who work in the motor control center room on electrical safety procedures. Training should include instruction on how to identify and respond to electrical hazards. 14thly, keep detailed records of all electrical work, including inspections, maintenance, and repairs. These records can be helpful for tracking trends and identifying potential problems. 15thly, when selecting electrical equipment, consider the manufacturer's recommendations for installation and maintenance in wet and damp locations. The manufacturer's instructions should be followed carefully to ensure that the equipment is installed and operated safely. 16thly, when retrofitting or upgrading existing electrical systems, take the opportunity to improve the protection against moisture. This may include replacing outdated equipment with newer, more water-resistant models or adding additional ground fault circuit interrupters protection. 17thly, consider the use of waterproof or submersible pumps for draining water from the motor control center room. These pumps can be used to remove water quickly and efficiently in the event of a flood or other water intrusion. 18thly, when designing the motor control center room, consider the location of other utilities, such as water pipes and gas lines. These utilities should be located away from electrical equipment to minimize the risk of damage or hazards. 19thly, consult with a qualified electrical engineer to ensure that the electrical system is designed and installed in accordance with all applicable codes and standards. An electrical engineer can provide valuable expertise in selecting appropriate equipment and designing a safe and reliable electrical system. 20thly, stay up to date on the latest changes to the National Electrical Code and other relevant codes and standards. The National Electrical Code is updated every 3 years, so it is important to stay informed of any changes that may affect electrical installations in wet and damp locations. By considering these additional factors, you can help to ensure the safety and reliability of electrical installations in areas prone to moisture. Remember that electrical safety is a shared responsibility, and everyone who works with or around electrical equipment should be aware of the potential hazards and take steps to mitigate them. In motor control center rooms, especially those with sinks, the risk of electrical hazards is heightened due to the potential for water exposure. Therefore, strict adherence to safety protocols and code requirements is essential. Beyond the general guidelines, specific scenarios and equipment warrant detailed attention. Consider the variable frequency drives, or VFDs, mentioned. These devices control the speed of motors and are sensitive to environmental conditions. The VFD should be installed in NEMA 3R or NEMA 4X enclosures depending on the level of protection required. Ensure that the enclosures are properly sealed to prevent water from entering and damaging the internal components. Additionally, consider the heat generated by VFD. The enclosures should be adequately ventilated to prevent overheating, which can reduce the lifespan of the VFD. The ventilation system should also be designed to prevent moisture from entering the enclosure. The exhaust fan control panel also requires careful consideration. This panel controls the operation of the exhaust fan, which is essential for maintaining air quality in the motor control center room. The control panel should be installed in an NEMA 3R or NEMA 4X enclosure and located away from potential water sources. The wiring for the exhaust fan should be properly sized and protected from physical damage. The control panel should also be equipped with overcurrent protection to prevent damage from electrical faults. The sludge pump station environment presents unique challenges. Sludge can be corrosive and can create a damp environment. Therefore, all electrical equipment in the motor control center room should be resistant to corrosion and moisture. Consider using stainless steel enclosures and corrosion-resistant wiring. The motor control center room should also be regularly cleaned to remove any sludge or other contaminants. The plastic wash sink, while seemingly innocuous, poses a significant risk to electrical safety. The sink should be installed in a location that minimizes the risk of water splashing onto electrical equipment. A splash guard can be installed to prevent water from splashing onto nearby equipment. The sink should also be equipped with a backflow preventer to prevent contaminated water from flowing back into the water supply. The plumbing for the sink should be properly installed and maintained to prevent leaks. Leaks can create a damp environment and increase the risk of electrical hazards. The sink should also be equipped with a drain that can handle the volume of water it will generate. In addition to the physical location of the sink, consider the activities that will be performed at the sink. If the sink will be used for washing parts or equipment, ensure that the cleaning solutions used are compatible with electrical equipment. Some cleaning solutions can damage electrical components or create a conductive path for electricity. Provide training to personnel on the proper use of the sink and the potential hazards associated with water and electricity. Regular inspections of the motor control center room should include checking for signs of water damage, corrosion, and other potential hazards. Inspections should be performed by qualified personnel who are trained to identify electrical hazards. Any identified hazards should be addressed promptly to prevent accidents and ensure the safety of personnel. The National Electrical Code provides detailed requirements for electrical installations in various locations. It is essential to consult the National Electrical Code and other applicable codes and standards to ensure that the electrical installation in the motor control center room complies with all requirements. The National Electrical Code is updated regularly, so it is important to stay up to date on the latest changes. The local building codes may also have additional requirements for electrical installations. It is important to consult with local building officials to ensure that the electrical installation complies with all local codes. Working with electricity can be dangerous, so it is essential to take all necessary precautions to prevent accidents. Always de-energize electrical equipment before working on it. Use appropriate personal protective equipment, such as gloves and safety glasses. Follow safe work practices and procedures. If you are not qualified to work on electrical equipment, contact a qualified electrician. The motor control center room is a critical component of the sludge pump station. Maintaining a safe and reliable electrical system in the motor control center room is essential for ensuring the continued operation of the pump station. By following the guidelines and recommendations outlined above, you can help to create a safe and reliable electrical system in the motor control center room. Remember that electrical safety is a shared responsibility, and everyone who works with or around electrical equipment should be aware of the potential hazards and take steps to mitigate them. Always prioritize safety when working with electricity. Proper planning, installation, and maintenance are key to preventing accidents and ensuring the long-term reliability of the electrical system. Always consult with qualified professionals and adhere to all applicable codes and standards.